So guys, episode 2.
Cheers to episode 2. This is the most of a book I've read in a long time.
That's very true.
Hello and welcome back to Fool of a Took podcast. We're here to talk about chapter 2, which is called...
Talked about it last week.
Which is called...
The Shadow of the Past.
I
don't know.
It's all good. We're new here.
So in chapter 1, we are introduced to Bilbo Baggins and the Shire, the boring little country they all call home, his adopted nephew and heir, Frodo. They had a big birthday party. Bilbo takes the opportunity to insult a bunch of people and then disappear. Frodo inherits a magic ring. A cranky old wizard tells him it is a great danger and then leaves. So in chapter 2, what actually happens in chapter 2 is we open with a discussion of Mad Baggins and sort of how has he remembered what happened. He essentially turns into like an insane Santa Claus who disappears and then reappears with like gold. But really, most adults just assume that he drowned somewhere and it was probably Gandalf's fault.
Is Mad Baggins Bilbo?
Yes.
Okay.
I love that.
But to be fair, they also say that Frodo is probably also mad.
Yeah, he's on his way.
Yes. Because despite the
Technically,
fact...
they say Bilbo was cracked.
Yes.
I love that. I'm going to start saying people are cracked.
There you go. So the reason they say Frodo's probably insane is that because most adults agree that Bilbo is clearly dead somewhere, Frodo continues to have a birthday party for him every year. And at the same time, Frodo does not appear to be aging either. And this is starting to come to people's attention. And so that just makes Frodo more and more like Bilbo in everybody's mind. So Frodo is that much closer to being another insane Santa Claus. What we also get is Frodo's wanderings. He feels the pull of adventure. He is going out and wandering the Shire and even further abroad, God forbid, to see elves and just to explore. And he's getting some wanderlust. And he doesn't quite know what to do with it because he still loves the Shire. He doesn't want to leave. So in the middle of all that, we cut down to the Green Dragon Inn again, where, again, locals are discussing, and we learn a lot about what's happening through rumor mongering. And even the deafest of hobbits is learning about, like, there's elves passing through the Shire to head west, to go over the sea, forever leaving Middle-earth. That was a hell of a lore drop for them to, like, casually drop in the pub and then not touch again.
Yeah.
Ever. But hey, whatever. I'm not the author.
And it's like rare that the elves are seen.
Yeah. The elves are not common.
Yeah.
But they are becoming more common, which is alarming. And even more common than that are dwarven refugees on the road talking about dangers in the east, and they're all flowing west. Mm-hmm. And there's talk of Sauron and the danger and the great enemy in the east. And even the hobbits, all the way over in their tiny little piece of paradise, know about this. So the world around them is kind of going to shit. And they're faintly aware of this, but in the same way that, like, winter's coming, right? What are you going to do about it? So this is all discussed at the Green Dragon Inn. Then
I want to go here to this bar.
Right.
It sounds fun.
Right. Then Gandalf reappears. Now, gun to my head, I would have said Gandalf was gone for 2 years. How long did you guys think Gandalf was gone for?
I honestly thought it was like a month or two. I didn't think it was like several years.
So before we found out Frodo's age, was how you do the math, I thought it was a year.
Okay. What was the number?
I think it came out to 12 or 13 years.
17.
It was goddamn 17 years. So he was gone for almost 2 decades, and then he just kind of pops back in. He came back, and mostly just to check in on Frodo, kind of take the temperature on, his little friend that he left the weapon of mass destruction with, and then he would just fuck off. And then he left for 9 years and wasn't seen again. Then one morning he shows up, or I guess one evening. Doesn't matter.
Actually, it kind of does matter.
It was evening, and he slept over.
Because he never stayed till morning, and it was the first time he stayed till morning.
I had a girlfriend like that.
He left in the morning. It's like a one night stand.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
He left before morning.
No,
is
he
what
would
it
say,
says.
keep it secret, keep it safe. I'm going to bed.
I'm sorry,
he slept
you're
there.
wrong.
We'll see. Well, look,
You're wrong.
We will cut to the correct answer.
All right, you fool.
All right. But what I love though about this part is that this essentially takes Frodo's life from 0 to 60 in terms of the danger zone. Like he is now clearly on the highway to the danger zone.
Yes.
Because
Danger
Gandalf shows up and drops a whole lot of bad news on Frodo. Just wall to wall bullshit. He informs Frodo that what he's inherited is a ring of power. These are like, they're not trifles, they're not toys. These are major pieces of arcana. These are powerful. And Gandalf's afraid that his is extremely powerful. And in his journeys, he has confirmed this. So they test it in the fire. They throw the ring in the fire and they leave it in there until fiery letters appear. And then they pull it out. And Frodo basically has it tossed to him and it's cool to the touch. And when they look at the script, it is beautiful craftsmanship, very fine lettering, but Frodo can't read it. So Gandalf reads it to him. And Chris, this is where we get the poem you love so much. This
Right.
is the inscribed in the ring are 2 lines from the poem.
One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness, bind them.
I can't be the only one who wants to hear the Beastie Boys read this.
Yes.
So he has the ring of power. It is the one ring. It is the great weapon of the enemy. And part of why Gandalf would come to visit so often is because when Bilbo gave the ring away to Frodo as a just in free will, there was that confrontation, that moment where Bilbo got real weird and possessive and more Gollum-like. And that was a show of the ring's hold over people, because possession of these rings over time destroys a person. It erodes who they are and what they are and just strips them away until they're nothing but a vessel to carry this thing around until it can be brought closer and closer back to Sauron. So problem is now Sauron knows that his great weapon exists. He knows that it is in the Shire. He knows the name Baggins. He's looking for it. He's assembled the 9 rings given to mortal men. He's assembled 3 of the 7 dwarven rings, the other 4 eaten by dragons or something.
Which I think is amazing.
Right? Isn't that cool? Again, the only time that's ever mentioned, never talks about it again. As a teenager, do you know how frustrating that was?
You mean that's not covered in one of the additional texts?
I don't know. I'm an old man and there's lots of things to read. But yeah, no, none of the appendices really go into it.
Darn.
I know. There's just like 7 of them.
It just reminds me too of like the Middle Ages when people were killing cats because they thought they were witches, talismans, and things like that. When instead they were saving people from the plague. Like in this series, everyone's killing dragons, and in the end, could have had a quick trip with a dragon to solve this problem.
That's true.
You shouldn't kill the dragons.
Right. So he has the rings. He has the ones that weren't eaten by dragons.
Right.
He has the 9, and he's using them to search. Like, who are the 9? What are the 9? We don't really know yet, but it's implied that whatever it is, you don't want to know. You don't want to meet these ring bearers.
Right.
Long story short, Gil-galad and Isildur fucked all the way up.
Who are they?
They were the ones who overthrew Sauron and invaded Mordor like 2,500 years ago. And all Gandalf has to say on the matter is Isildur did not destroy the ring when he had a chance, and instead the ring betrayed him and they were ambushed by orcs, and when he dove into the river to swim away invisibly, the ring fell off his finger. Then he got like pricked up with orc arrows, and so died the greatest king of men. And at some time later, Dreagle and Smeagol found the ring in the riverbed, swimming around, little hobbity-like creatures. They find the ring. Smeagol, now Gollum, then Smeagol, murders his friend for this thing they've just found, becomes an outcast in his little society, and then because he was always interested in the diggings and what was under stuff, he eventually went to the mountains to see what was hidden in the roots of the mountains, secrets that have been hidden since the creation of all things. And instead, all he found was fish, cold, blind fish, and just a horrid, wretched little existence until a fat, lost hobbit found him. So what now? Right? Sauron knows where the ring is probably. He has a name. He doesn't know where on the map it is, but he has a name. He's dispatching agents of evil to go find it. Frodo, one, has some very unkind things to say about Smeagol. He is justifiably upset that his birthday present is the Doomsday device, and now it's his problem. Because Gandalf informs him that the only way to destroy this thing is to throw it back into the fires where it was created, back into the cracks of doom, back into the volcano in Mordor, where the shadows lie. Conveniently, where Sauron has rebuilt Barad-dûr, the Dark Tower, where he's currently amassing his armies, and it's the worst place on Earth. And Gandalf advises Frodo to leave immediately. And that's kind of it.
What about the very end?
I know, the very end. So the very, very, very last things that happens this chapter is Gandalf reaches out of the window, grabs the gardener by the neck, pulls him inside, berates him for eavesdropping, but he weren't dropping no eaves. He was clipping the hedges, which is different, technically different. And says, basically, Sam, you've heard things that you weren't supposed to hear. And if you tell anyone, it's going to be bad for everybody. But Sam, it's going to be bad for you.
Yeah, and it's Samwise Gamgee.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, Samwise Gamgee. Gandalf says you should take companions with you, or a companion. And essentially Sam says, I'm down.
This sounds fun.
Yeah, this is going to be amazing. I'm going to see elves. Oh my God, I'm going to see elves. Oh boy. And then he cries tears of joy after hearing how they're going to trek their asses into hell. But there will be elves along the way.
That's all that matters.
It's such a fun, uplifting last paragraph.
It's needed.
Mm-hmm. It really
That
is.
was a dark chapter.
And I have to say too, I actually, to be very specific, I know we're about to go in very much detail, but I love that it's actually Frodo that's actually threatening Sam.
On behalf of Gandalf.
Kind of. He says, if you care about me, you will keep this dead secret. If you don't, if you even breathe a word of what you've heard here, then I hope Gandalf will turn you into a spotted toad and fill the garden full of grass snakes. And then Gandalf interrupts and says, because Sam falls to his knees blubbering, he says, get up, Sam. I have thought of something better than that. Something to shut your mouth and punish you properly for listening. You shall go away with Mr. Frodo. Not knowing that that's what Sam has wanted this whole time. I thought that was such a great twist. I actually remembered it as Gandalf being aggressive and Frodo feeling bad for Sam. Frodo does not feel bad for Sam.
It's the other way around.
It's the other way around. Yeah. And that was actually one of my notes.
Man, if I was going to go on a perilous quest, I would not pick the gardener.
No. And that's the thing. When he lists his 4 best friends, Sam isn't even mentioned at the very beginning of the chapter.
Damn, that's tough.
He's just the gardener to him at this point.
But
rough.
You know what's roughest? Sam heard him say that through the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sam is obviously lusting after adventure, but also really cares about Frodo. The way he talks about him in the first part of the chapter, it is really sad.
So let's go back to that.
Sure.
So let's go, and that's what, at the Green Dragon Inn?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go back to the part where they're rumor mongering and drinking again.
Which isn't that so quaint how 20 years later almost, it's the same 2 families. The Miller's son, I think it's Sandyman.
Sandyman, yep.
Yeah. It's
Ted Sandyman?
It's Ted Sandyman, or whatever you say his last name, and the Gaffer's son.
Is it Sandy Man or Sandy Man?
Sandyman?
Sandyman.
I'm not
Sandyman.
Sandyman.
Ted Sandyman.
hard to
Ted
say.
Sandyman.
Ted Sandyman.
However you say his last name, he's the Miller.
Nice fella.
It's Ted and Sam this generation, but 20 years prior, it was the old Gaffer
Oh, aye.
and the other Sandyman. I don't remember his first name.
I love it.
Yes, I got him.
Oh my.
And they're still
I'll
just
behave.
gossiping and drinking and probably the same table in the same inn. Still, what do they say in the first book? Wagging their tongues about Bilbo and Frodo. I just loved that. That was so quaint and just show how Hobbiton really is.
Yeah, it's sorry.
I like that if you read this closely, there's so many parallels. And we're only on chapter 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm a fast reader and I miss a lot of stuff like that. So that kind of makes me want to read it a little closer. I'm reading every chapter twice now. So
Nice.
you can pick up on those little parallels.
There's something that Sam does that to me was a huge character display. We're already living in an alternate universe, right? where there's hobbits, there's been talk of dwarves, there's been talk of elves, dragons. This is a fantasy land. And yet, what's the name of the guy Sam's talking to?
Ted.
So he's like, oh, or Ted's like, oh, did you hear that? Like somebody spotted like, some elves or whatever walking around town. That's so crazy or whatever he's talking about. And like Sam is just defending the fantasy world when this like old schmuck is sort of like dismissive of everything. He's like, I don't want anything to do with it. I don't think he went and did this. I don't think the elves are real. I don't think there's dragons.
The tree men, the giants.
I don't think there's walking trees. And I love that Sam is sitting there like just yes and. He's like, yes, there are. These things exist. And in that moment, to talk about character a bit, like Sam is showing unbelievable faith and loyalty in the extraordinary and unbelievable.
Because the person he's defending is his cousin.
Yeah.
Halfast.
And Halfast saw a walking tree
While hunting.
On the North Moors.
On the North Moors. Like, think about it this way. All of us know that Santa Claus does not exist, that the Easter Bunny does not exist. There's a bunch of things that like, exist, and we talk about it. But then when you hit like 7 years old, you're like, that doesn't exist. That's not real.
Or 4 if you're me.
Or 4. Yeah, sounds like you had a terrible childhood.
I did not.
Anyway.
It was filled with books and learning. I had a great time.
Damn.
But that would be like if you sat at a bar and you were talking to a friend and you were like, yeah, so like I'm playing Santa or like, something for the kids with Christmas coming up. And your friend was like, Santa exists. And like, what's that?
It's modern day Bigfoot.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Like they just were like, what are you talking about? Of course it exists. I believe in this. And so that's a real show of character to like be an outcast, to believe and talk publicly about these things.
But the other side of that is like, it's like you sit down at the bar, same bar. The dude on your other side looks at you and says, I don't think Afghanistan is real.
That's actually more accurate.
I mean, guys been there, but where'd they been? Right?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I've left home too. Yeah, I came back after you because I was broke.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, it's Sam is defending the realities of his world as he understands them. And Ted Sandyman is denying all of them.
Because that's the realities of his world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So
Frodo has an amazing quote about the people around him, doesn't he? I think, did somebody wanted to mention that?
Oh, I did. It's at the end of
Right.
the chapter. So
Yeah, you
it's
can
not
still say it.
necessarily
But it describes
related to this.
it describes hobbits and the people in Hobbiton.
Yes. So Frodo is talking about how he thinks he's going to have to go on this journey because he wants to save the Shire. And he says, I should like to save the Shire if I could. Though there have been times when I thought the inhabitants too stupid and dull for words, and have felt that an earthquake or an invasion of dragons might be good for them.
He was talking about Ted Sandyman.
I guess so. Jesus.
But honestly, like
What a
growing up,
quote.
like if you've ever been to a small town, I
guess.
understand that quote so much. You're like, my God, travel. Stop being so ignorant.
Yeah.
You have no idea what you're saying about these things you've never experienced and will never experience your entire life.
Yeah.
However, there is this wholesome, loving quality about this type of person that you do want to defend and protect, even if you want them to be better.
Yep, that's fair. He wants them to be better. And he does say, I don't feel that way now. I feel that as long as the Shire lies behind, safe and comfortable, I shall find wandering more bearable.
Oh.
So he does, even though he thinks maybe they should get swallowed by an earthquake, that they deserve to be saved.
Just enough to wake everyone else up.
He's hung out with Gandalf too much.
I love that while we're in the Shire, Tolkien goes out of his way to make hobbits incredibly relatable. Because, spoiler, this ends when we leave the Shire. But like the Shire is meant to be a familiar thing in the unfamiliar, right? It is like every small town. They are gossiping about the rich man on the hill who had a party that was fucking rad. And also about like the price of turnips.
Right?
Right? But then there's also elves wandering through and dwarves and a great war in the East and like all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't have cable TV. Or the internet.
Yeah. All they have is dwarves. And they wander through and you ask them 2 questions and they ignore both of them.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that I found entertaining in this chapter was, probably the 3rd paragraph, where they're talking about how Frodo keeps having these birthday parties for Bilbo, even though he's gone. So we know the last one was for his 111th birthday. So for his 112th birthday, he called it the 100-weight feast.
It never made sense to me.
Which doesn't make any sense, does it?
No.
So I looked it up, and 100 weight is a unit of measurement, which one would expect refers to 100 pounds of weight, and it's used for like selling cattle and heavy machinery and stuff. But the British 100 weight is 112 pounds.
But don't we use the same system?
No, not in this case.
I love that. Thank you for looking that up.
That's wild.
Because I was like, 100 weight. I recognize that from like, that's how you sell milk from dairy and stuff. But
See, I've never even heard of that.
112, yeah.
Like, that's the first for me.
Yep.
Dang.
So that was my little technical nerding out
No wonder they lost their
based
empire.
on my agricultural experience. Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that we also meet Pippin.
Was
Yes.
this our first introduction to
Well,
Pippin?
he's mentioned,
Yes.
but we
Yeah.
haven't really met him officially yet.
Correct.
You know what I love about Merry and Pippin?
What?
And this is getting a little teeny tiny bit ahead. They're NPCs, and they're there for it.
That's really funny.
I love that. I never thought of it that way.
And what's also fun is that Gollum claims the ring is his birthday present, right? Mm-hmm. It is literally Frodo's birthday present.
I never even considered that.
And it was also part of Bilbo's story on how he got the ring. He called it a present or a birthday present.
Yeah, that was one of the things that worried Gandalf. Like, as he was kind of trying to gauge whether or not the ring was corrupting his friend. You know, that the possessiveness, the lies, the stories, all the characterizations of his wants for it and his uses for it. These were all things that mattered a lot to Gandalf as he pondered whether or not his friend was in mortal peril. Like, well, one, Gollum could never get rid of it, right?
Right.
Like, because Gandalf, and we should talk about this, we're introduced to Aragorn, the greatest huntsman of the age, who brings Gollum to Gandalf after Gandalf has been looking for him and then just quit. And he's like, you know what? I got better things to do. And then Aragorn just like drags Gollum up like a wet sack and is like, here. And Gandalf's like, cool, we're going to get some information. How do they get the information, Chris? They torture him.
Yes.
Yeah.
They
Maybe
put the
not a
fear
lot.
of fire into him,
But
which I
enough.
would love to know.
Yeah.
Literally what that
What
means.
is the fear of fire?
I just imagine
And
them putting him over the fire
Hot
pit
coals.
like a pig being roasted,
Or, well, there's also something that they
lowering
really
him
get
closer and closer. I went very Edgar Allan Poe.
Well, something else that they really get into with Gollum's character is that he loathes the sun,
Yes.
and he's also afraid of the moon.
True.
Yeah, even before he was tainted by the ring, he was always looking downward, burrowing, tunneling. He was forgetting the sun, forgetting to look into the sky. He was looking downwards even before a great power took over him. And so that is a great point. That is his greatest fear.
It might have been as easy as opening and closing a window shade. We don't know.
Also true. It specifically said, in the end, I had to be harsh. I put the fear of fire on him and wrung the true story out of him bit by bit.
I mean, he could
When you
have had
say
like
wrong,
a torch.
I hear the rack.
Yeah.
Pulling fingernails out. Does he even have fingernails?
Maybe not anymore.
Not anymore.
So the reason we got to that is because Gollum hated the ring.
Yeah.
Ah, one of my favorite
he
lines.
loved it. And go ahead then.
Gandalf tells Frodo that obviously Gollum hates the ring, and Frodo's like, "What? What do you mean? He loved it." He says he hated it and loved it, as he hated and loved himself.
He loathed it. But he couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like an addiction. It's like you could say that about an addict. And it just shows the relationship of the ring bearer and the ring over a period of time. How as much as it's your obsession and you can't get rid of it, you despise the way you feel and you're tired of feeling under its control and under its power.
Yeah.
And it all starts with a fishing trip.
Yeah.
I could not believe how quickly it took hold of him. His friend was literally holding it in his hand. And he was like, I have to have that, and just immediately murdered his friend.
I did not like this scene very much with Smeagol and Deagle, personally.
Why is that?
I don't know. I didn't like it.
Well, so something to remember about all of this is that this is the story that Gandalf gets from Smeagol or from Gollum even. So he's not telling everything. He's not giving nuance. And if he's painting it that smoothly, that quickly, with that few details, maybe he feels shame.
And maybe it could just be that, like, he was particularly susceptible to this ring. Because it says he just caught him by the throat and strangled him because the gold looked so bright and beautiful. He hadn't even touched the ring yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it literally wasn't even like his yet. And he was like, I'm going to take this now. To me, if we're reading a book where everything is being described so thoughtfully, and then something very important happens that it's sort of thrown out the way it's described, that was a bummer. But it would make sense if it was that it would be a bummer if it's Gollum's retelling of that story that Gandalf's then retelling to Frodo, as opposed to the narrator telling us something.
Right.
Sorry.
See, I enjoyed
I got
it
feelings.
because I don't know. I just feel like the whole story kind of shows his obsession and his greed for power. And it is like dirty and ugly and abrasive and doesn't make you feel good. And it's just, I felt like it was fitting to what was happening and just his character arc. I mean, yes, he goes very quickly, but I felt like, I don't know, it kind of played into what the ring does to him as a person and makes him this creature immediately. You know what I mean? So I feel like that whole scene, the way it was written, was fitting.
He really does just kill his friend over the course of like a paragraph, right?
Well, you got to think about it. Yeah, so
Jesus.
let's dive
Jeez.
into this, right? They spend more time talking about the things on the ground that he looks at on a day-to-day basis than the amount of time it takes for him to, turn to like the dark side and kill his friend.
Well, another thing to consider too is that this kind of is in opposition to Bilbo having the ring and Frodo having the ring, because the ring corrupts you faster if you have corrupt desires along with it. And Bilbo, he had the ring, but it wasn't like it wasn't a source of power for him. He didn't murder anybody for it. He won a riddle contest on a technicality and ran.
And he willingly gave up the ring, which is huge.
And then he was able to do that. And
Yeah.
even Gandalf makes the point of that. And then I do want to talk about this though, because in terms of what this ring does to people, Frodo offers it to Gandalf as a solution. Frodo is like, I have the bomb in my hand. I do not wish this.
Yeah.
Why would it come to me in my life? Why? No. What if you have it? You're so much wiser. You're a wizard. This is wizard business. Gandalf like physically recoils and says, no, do not give that to me.
I did like that.
I like the line, because he really goes on a long paragraph about this. The wish to wield it would be too great for my strength. Like, he's saying, I'm too strong to have this thing. I would do terrible things without meaning to.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ominous, kind of scary.
Yeah, and I mean, he even says like he would use it out of a desire
To do good.
and out of pity for the powerless and the I don't remember what the exact words are, but to help people. His desire to help people with this thing would be too great to not use it, and in doing so, it would destroy him.
Yeah.
But Frodo, you keep it.
He does just kind of hand it off.
So one thing that is really cool, and you are going to see this going forward, and I knew, like, is retrospectively you see it in the story, but I didn't realize how soon it starts and how strong it is. Tolkien has a strange relationship with water. Bad things happen
in the water.
Water defines geography. Like, that's literally true. But like, he goes out of his way to explain like the limits or the river, like the Brandywine River. People get drowned in the river. When Gollum finds the roots of the mountains to go damn himself in some kind of sunless hell, it's because he chases a river up to see where it comes from. The river Anduin comes up later. Super important. Elves crossing the sea. There's tons of it, and you're going to see it. So just like,
And like people, Frodo's family drowned in it.
yes,
The the whole thing with the ring, Gollum getting the ring, was in a pond.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It was in the River Anduin,
river.
actually.
Okay. Sorry, just a fool over here.
No, but really, the water is everywhere in these stories, and it means a lot, and like thematically, it's super strong. And I don't think it's interesting of Tolkien's writing, and it's going to be throughout. But it's also, I think, because he's British and they live on a little island.
That's true. There's a lot of water around them, and it's very
True,
scary.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
That is one thing I'll say, reading this for the second time, I'm seeing how much of himself he put into the story, even though it's so fantastical. And I'll bring it up later with a couple quotes that I really love. But after I did more research on him as a human being and what he went through in his lifetime, I really see truths of his life in this story. And that's just the sign of an amazing writer.
Yeah,
Did you find your missing period?
it did.
Good. I didn't know what. I can't finish this joke.
I found my missing period.
Good. There was no plan B.
Especially
Saw that
back
coming.
then.
And fantasies always have an herb. They take a potion.
So to talk about Gandalf for a second, I just want to address this quote real fast. So during the next year or two, he had turned up fairly often. That means Gandalf to Bag End. Coming unexpectedly after dusk and going off without warning before sunrise. So to me, like, we're now entering like the Noir era of this chapter. There's some things going down that we don't know that Gandalf's doing. He's going off, he's learning, he's talking. 17 years. He literally, it says, never stays till sunrise. He's gone when it's dark. He leaves when it's dark. Then he stays one time till morning. And it's like, it feels very important. Then we were reading this line here, and I had a bit of a weird thing happen where I have a period inserted in the middle of a sentence.
Very strange.
So I thought I would read that sentence. It's for me page 37, but
And in
the
font
paragraph
85.
begins, if you want to look, with "He was smoking now in silence, for Frodo was sitting still, deep in thought. Even in the light of morning, he felt the dark shadow of the tidings that Gandalf had brought. At last he broke the silence."
That's so dramatic.
Oh, damn.
Yeah,
broke.
mine does not have a period.
At last he broke. And I just
Shattered.
pictured because I'm reading this at face value. Like, this is the sacred Tolkien text.
It's page 45 for us, Pat.
And I was like,
And
oh,
Laura.
okay. So he broke. What does that mean?
Broke down.
And then I had
Broken
to
too?
pause the Spotify, and I had to ask RJ. I was like, wait a minute. I think there's been a misprint.
And that definitely has a very different connotation.
That's what I'm saying.
At last he broke. The silence.
Yeah. The silence. Like,
We're getting a little
beating of the
eldritch
heart.
here.
it changes everything.
That's
Wow,
so funny.
you are gonna have a wild ride.
Yeah. I can't trust any of the punctuation of this. I don't know if it's true or not.
It's okay. They're assuming people who need font that big won't be able to see the periods anyway.
Also, real quick before moving on, as you said, this was the first time he stayed till morning. It's literally answered in this next sentence after your typo. It says, Frodo speaking, "Last night you began to tell me strange things about my ring, Gandalf. And then you stopped because you said that such matters were best left until daylight." He started telling him, and he goes, "Actually, I can't do this in the dark." Like, even Gandalf is like, "I'm fucking terrified."
I love that. He's like, I can't tell you this while it's dark outside. It must be light.
But also, he loves him, and he's like, "I don't want to give you a nightmare because I'm literally going to ruin your life.
Right.
Let's do this over a nice breakfast after I've had a
Yeah.
smoke."
You deserve a cup of tea and one last night of good sleep.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Well, another thing is that thematically, and this is going to come up. It's a little bit of foreshadowing, so I'll keep it super, super, super quick.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, not really.
No
spoiler
spoilers
alert. It's not
allowed.
a spoiler. It's just it's a characterization that's going to help you understand things as we
Our
move
new
forward.
quote to him will be, "Keep it simple, keep it tight."
Keep it simple, keep it safe. No spoilers.
Oh, that's better. That's better.
Keep it simple, keep it safe. Okay. In Tolkien's writing, night belongs to elves, the moon and the stars. but also darkness. And those two things,
Darkness belongs to the elves?
the moon and the stars belong to the elves.
Okay.
Darkness is when they come out. So those two things are inextricably linked.
Interesting.
And men and dwarves and hobbits, I guess, they all come out during the day because they have a more relatable diurnal experience.
Yeah.
But the nighttime,
And the senses are different,
yes,
right?
right. And anytime you see elves moving, it's at night.
Yeah.
Sam says this. Frodo says this. It's some things because Sam says somewhere in here at some point he was like he thinks he once saw an elf in the woods at night wandering or some shit, and like he would dearly love to see one again.
That was to Ted.
To Ted, right? Who clearly appreciated what he was hearing.
Speaking of which, by the way, sorry to interrupt. Sam and Frodo, are they similar ages?
No. I believe Sam's younger because Frodo is already under the influence of the ring, where at 50, he's acting like a much younger hobbit. And Sam was mentioned.
Frodo's 50, but he looks 33, right? He hasn't aged since the party.
I don't
basically.
have this, and maybe you know. I don't know yet. I think it comes up later on his age. I think Sam is around 33, finally of age, because his dad was still the gardener when Frodo was 33. Now Sam is the gardener. He's now of age where he can take on the family business. So he's around his 30s, in my personal opinion.
So he's younger than Frodo.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're gonna see Frodo is the more mature party in like
Interesting.
all these interactions.
Okay. Interesting. And also, I didn't realize until this chapter, I mean, just to call out the obvious here, that Sam works for Frodo. He's an employee. I thought they were like longtime best friends.
No.
Oh no.
Oh, no, he's just like a guy that works there.
He takes it very seriously.
Yeah, but like so
Yeah, it's not like him and Sam. Like so far, Frodo and Merry have been hanging out during the thing at the last chapter, but it's not like Sam is just simply he works on the property. He's like the landscaper.
Yeah, Frodo's friends that he like goes on adventures with and hangs out with at the inn is Folko Boffin. Try to say that five times fast. Fredegar Bolger.
Fredgar.
Is Fredgar?
I guess I
It
don't know.
looks like Fred Edgar, the way it's spelled.
Fredego.
Bolger. And then Peregrine Took, and then Pippin,
Si, mi scusi.
which is Pippin, and then Merryweather or whatever it is, and then Mary.
Merryweather.
No, it's Meriadoc.
Meriadoc.
Meriadoc? Oh, okay.
Meriadoc? I don't know.
I don't know.
Everyone calls him Mary for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a terrible name.
No, but he has those as listed as his 4 best friends.
Yeah.
That's
And so
it.
that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Sam doesn't even make the top 5, and he knows it because he was listening to the conversation.
Like, this is like me going on the most important quest of my entire life, and my like landscaper being my partner.
To be fair, that wasn't part of the conversation with Frodo and
No.
Like,
Gandalf.
Gandalf was like,
know.
what?
So Sam doesn't know?
No,
He doesn't know.
Oh,
doesn't
that's
know.
worse.
yeah. And Gandalf is like, Sam will accompany you. But like, it cuts too early. I think if the next paragraph would have been written, Frodo would have went, fuck! Because he doesn't even like this guy. He's got people he wants to come with him, which will be his best friends if he's going to go do adventures.
Like, Fredgar's got a lot to do.
I mean,
He has 2 first names.
And Sam's got some pretty sharp shears.
So, all right. RJ, you can speak to this a little bit. Like,
Sure.
This is a contextual thing for Tolkien because it's not just the landscaper, right? In a manorial system, like you have the manor house and the staff and like all these people who live on Bagshot Row below Bag End. They go with the house.
Generation after generation.
There is a strong and deep and intensely personal relationship between whoever lives in Bag End and the families who occupy Bagshot Row, who are kind of like they tend the land. They're the workers there.
Like in Downton Abbey.
Yes, that's it. That's exactly it. Yeah. So like, it's not just like you went down and the gas station.
people live downtown Abbey.
Hi-oh.
It's on our list. He's going to be indoctrinated.
Wait, you
I've
haven't
never
seen
seen
it?
it.
You, Chris, you haven't seen Downton Abbey yet?
Oh, buddy.
Is Downton?
Downton.
I thought it was Downtown Abbey.
No.
Negative, sir.
Well, what's Downton? Is that a name?
That's the name of the estate.
Yeah, it's how you pronounce downtown.
We'll see it in our next podcast.
I don't think there's a second W in it.
Downton.
Downton?
Downton
Downton.
Abbey. You have to have a proper British accent, which I don't.
So
Downton Abbey.
So somebody's gonna be real mad at me, but TON is a modernization of TUN, which is an Anglo-Saxon term for place. So it just means place of. So
Zabby's
down.
place.
yeah, like the place of the abbey.
The Abbey.
Right, an abbey being a religious institution.
Oh boy. Interesting.
Right?
We're getting really
So
over the
these
rails here.
people kind of like Downton
loves
Abbey.
language.
These people show up with the house, basically, no matter who owns
Yeah,
it.
And it's like a big family.
Yeah.
Like they're not family,
Right.
but you really like them.
Speaking of hobbits, I thought of Laura.
Oh no.
When one line popped up, and I just want to read it here.
I'm scared.
Hobbit lore, which was LURE. And they said that they are soft as butter and as tough as old tree roots. And I thought of you during that.
I don't know why, but I love it.
because she loves butter.
Because of the butter?
Maybe the butter.
And you can be as tough as a tree root.
But you
when want
enjoyed
to.
the gentle
Yeah, she
hobbits.
I do. I identify as a hobbit.
And so I just
Oh,
thought
wait. This would be such a cute segment. Okay, so you identify as a hobbit. What do you guys identify as?
I guess a dwarf.
Yeah, definitely.
Chris?
from what we've talked about so far, only.
Is it an elm tree?
Yeah, I think it's the tree
Oh my God.
that no one believes is real. Either that or the firework.
So I feel so egotistical saying this. I've always wanted to be an elf. And I feel like it's sort of like a Harry Potter thing.
Today's your lucky day. We have a surprise for you.
Jackie Daytona.
Jackie Daytona.
No, but I feel like, I don't know. I always wanted to be an elf, but I might. There's no female wizards in this. But if there could be, I would want to be a wizard or warlock or something like that. Some kind of sorcerer, but not evil.
Galadriel.
Ooh.
That's your girl.
Crosses
Gladriel's
both.
pretty
We'll
dope.
get
It
there.
does?
We don't know who she is yet.
I have no idea.
She
Yeah.
is one of my favorite characters.
I know. Fucking right.
Before we jump too far away from hobbits, I do want to bring up something that Gandalf says. I believe Gandalf says it. Please correct me if it's not Gandalf.
Oh, I will.
Because I said he calls them in my notes, so it might be the wrong person.
Okay.
But this is a sentence that I just thought was great. The Bolgers, Hornblowers, Boffins, Brace Girdles, and the rest, not to mention the ridiculous Bagginses.
This is when he's saying they're coming for the Shire.
It's great. I don't know where it's from, but it's such a great line.
It was when Gandalf said, "By the way, there's a great and terrible power in the world.
Yeah.
And it knows your name, and it wants to kill you, and
Yes.
it's coming for everyone you know.
Yes.
You should pack a bag
Yeah.
and bring the
that's
gardener."
powerful, but it's not fun. That's fun. The ridiculous Baggins.
Well, that's-
I just picture it like
there's so. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
my friend. I'm not even friends with him. I know somebody with the last name Hornblowers.
Fuck you, Mr. Hornblower.
I actually don't. That's not true. But if I did have friends that were Bolgers, Hornblowers, Boffins, Brace Girdles, and the rest, and not to mention the ridiculous Newharts, I just think of it that way. If somebody's talking about my family and they just decided to add the adjective of ridiculous before mine and not anybody else's, I would be slightly offended.
And Gandalf has a documented history of
Being a shit.
just like fucking with hobbits.
Got a little fuck around and find out going on.
Not even find out. He just likes to fuck around, then disappear for 17 years while he finds out,
Okay, yeah.
and then
fair.
come back and ruin your birthday.
Yeah.
There's some finding out.
Yeah.
I want to revisit the conversation that we had last time about how Frodo is a wonderful, compassionate little being, and we have a little bit of a back
It
and
changed
forth
this time.
on whether or not Gandalf, if we're Team Gandalf or not Team Gandalf. I think the tables have turned in
Honestly,
this
yeah.
episode. I think Frodo wishes death on Gollum. He says, I have no pity for him. I wish he'd been killed.
And then Gandalf responds with my favorite quotes. I have several written down on my notes, but he says, "'Tis pity," because he says that Bilbo didn't kill him, and then Frodo says pity, and Gandalf's quote. I'm not even reading it right now. I just have this seared into my brain. He says, "'Tis pity is what stayed his hand," and he goes into this beautiful monologue about people who are alive. Or people who are dead deserve to be alive. People who are alive deserve to be dead.
I wrote that down as a note.
It's one of my favorite monologues, and I feel like I just botched it, just trying to do it from my memory. But also in that moment, it really made me think of Tolkien as a man, and once again putting himself and his life experiences into his writing. As many people know, maybe some people don't, he actually fought in World War I, and it just felt like such a soldier's monologue.
So Team Gandalf?
Oh, totally Team Gandalf.
Okay. It's not so bad now. Chris?
I have a note here that... I'm sorry, Pat. Would you want to say something?
I was going to say, to contextualize this, Gandalf just got done telling Frodo that the reason everyone he knows is in mortal peril is that this monster strangled his friend and then brought a ring into basically to Bilbo's possession, and then Bilbo brought it home.
And then Gandalf bodily tortured Gollum to find out the story.
We don't know.
Yeah.
The congressional inquiry found no evidence.
Did they?
I think he's very patient and very calm in this chapter, and Frodo is getting a little whiny.
Well, so
I
Frodo is
understand
pretty
why.
friggin' whiny in it.
He's very upset.
Yeah.
He has no idea what's going on, and it just keeps getting worse and worse.
I don't see it as
man,
whiny
is
because
he
he's
whiny.
the owner of the atom bomb.
Yeah,
He's very stressed out, very worried.
totally. I get it. I don't blame him.
I don't think Frodo's whiny. I think he is justifiably upset that an old man showed up in the middle of the night and said, I'm going to make you sad, but we're going to wait till dawn.
But why didn't they cast it into the fire before?
Because the weakness of men is real.
I have a question about that, actually. So my question is, when they talk about casting it into the fire of Mountain Doom, right?
Mountain Dew.
Of Mountain Dew.
Code red.
What exactly is going to destroy the ring? Is it that it is the lava from Mount Doom, or is it that it's just in lava, which is not accessible? Like, it cannot be destroyed, but it's in lava, so it cannot be accessed by living things because it would kill them.
So to my knowledge,
Because it was not actually that clear the way they said it.
It was forged there.
it's sort of based
That's
on
what I got.
old magic lore of once a thing is created, it can only be destroyed where it's created, usually with the same things it was created with. So like,
Right, that's true.
materials.
But there's a comma or something on that sentence which says, or at least be out of reach from the enemy.
Are you sure everyone has this comma?
I'm not.
that's a good point.
But that's what it made me
No,
write a whole note about
I
it,
know.
going, wait a
So,
minute.
hold on.
This whole time
Right,
I'm
no,
thinking
fires
that
of
the
doom.
moment that the ring goes in the lava, it would just melt and be destroyed.
So-
but perhaps it can't be destroyed. Perhaps it can just simply go into the lava of Mount Doom,
one else
where
can go.
and no one
Actually,
can get to it.
You know what?
Because Gandalf says, then it's at least out of reach.
Well, actually, that's a really
I
good.
never thought about that.
That's a really good point, and it comes back to my dragons, right?
Yeah.
Because y'all can't get inside.
Who
the
can
dragon.
fuck with lava? Dragons.
Is that the
can.
only place where there's lava in this whole?
And then I was thinking,
It's the only
is there
volcano.
only one volcano in Middle Earth?
Yeah,
My
it's the only
thought
one
was
mentioned.
that it was forged there. Maybe it was forged out of this lava, and it's not gold. It's a special material, whatever this magical lava material.
clearly
and
lava in it.
hardens, and the only way to destroy it is to melt it back into the lava because it's the same material.
It is the.
But
It is
it's
the
the
ancient
cracks
trope.
of doom. That's so specific. Page 59.
The
Thank you.
fabled cracks of doom. I have that.
Yeah, and then it goes on because that was where
I've seen many
Anytime
cracks.
Anybody leans over.
that is
The cracks of doom!
Oh my fucking god!
What?
yes,
And Caligan the Black.
yes, but
Oh.
he was murdered.
Y'all don't even know.
There was only
Okay.
one way to find the cracks of doom in the depths of. I'm going to let you take the next word.
Oradun?
That's how I think it is.
Oradun.
The fire mountain,
The elvish name.
Okay.
Okay.
and cast the ring in there.
So
If
the
you
fire
really-
mountain is Mount Doom.
Mount Doom, Oradun.
Oradun.
The fire
That's
mountain.
the elvish word for Mount Doom is
Yes.
It is really called Mount Doom.
Doom. No.
Yeah.
Or the
no,
Doom.
it's called the Cracks of Doom.
The Cracks
of Doom. But it's also called Mount Doom on the map.
Yes.
Yes.
Because, hobbits like simple
And that's
things.
the only way it's beyond the grass of
fire
the enemy forever. Not that the enemy couldn't get there, but once it goes into the fire, that's it. Game over. The power
But
has
it's
been
not
reversed.
destroyed.
No,
It
Chris.
is.
The way you read it is, you put it in the Fire Mountain and cast the ring there. If you really wish to destroy it, if you really wish to destroy it and to put it forever beyond the grasp of the enemy,
So it is destroyed.
only
Yes.
destroying it forever solves this problem. Because Isildur fucked up 2,500 years ago in not destroying this ring.
He could have thrown it right in the fire. He was right there.
Doesn't answer my question.
Yes, it does.
No,
It
it,
does.
doesn't. Because it does make it forever out of the grasp of the enemy because it cannot go into the lava.
If you
No, it is
ever
in the
wish,
lava. Maybe
if
he's
you
got really good
really wish
hot
to
hands.
destroy it,
But why would lava destroy it when nothing on earth destroys
because that's
it?
where it was born, and it's
And
a
that's
trope.
that's a trope of
old
magic.
Because again,
I don't like that.
Tolkien loved old stories, and he's the father of
mythology.
he's the father of modern fantasy for a reason.
Yes.
But the moral of the story is, if you don't understand something, you just say magic.
Magic. I have a note here that I think is really interesting. Sorry to jump ship a little bit. On
please do.
topics.
Please do.
Note number 42. Sam, well, I'll let you read it.
42. Sam is outside the window, silently shitting himself, eavesdropping.
That's one of my favorite
Jesus
things.
Christ, you're right.
Right?
Right, because at every
He's
pause,
sitting there, and the reason I
you
wrote
hear
that is
him
because
clipping.
he's clipping, and then Gandalf makes a note, or narrator makes a note, somebody makes a note, that there's silence. That someone has stopped clipping outside the window, and they're scratched down there listening to the scariest part of the story, by far. And I just was thinking about what Sam was thinking about.
So that's one of my favorite parts of this whole chapter is that very serious things are happening. You hear the shears getting slower. Then you hear nothing. Then after a really traumatic moment, you hear, I can't whistle.
Yeah. I'll have you, just to comment on that, because I love that, this is likely the scariest story Sam has ever heard.
Right.
And you
his
didn't
entire
understand
life.
half of it.
And with no context, right? So then
Wait,
it
also
goes
you're
into...
cast it into the fire. Pick it up. It's cool. He's like, what the hell's going on in there?
Then read number 48. Note number 48.
The curtains open and Sam is literally whistling to himself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because-
like out of he's like, oh. like trying not to be inconspicuous,
Like clearly crying.
Yeah, like he's like, "Ah!" Like I don't know. I thought that was so interesting. Like this is probably the scariest thing he's ever heard.
And then Gandalf snatches him and says, "You're gonna go see elves." And what
Yeah.
happens? He cries with joy.
Which, by the way, he picked up basically like a watermelon and threw him into the room. And Sam was like, "Woo!" And, like came into the room and was pumped.
Also, Chris, he's one of us because Gandalf says, "Don't be a fool."
Yeah, I noticed that. He called him a fool, and I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
I know we've skipped
Team
so many
Handfast.
major moments of this chapter because there's just too
Did you
many.
have a last one you want to hit?
We would be here
Big
like
chapter.
for 40 hours. We hit every single
We gotta talk
moment.
the soldier bit.
I know.
Well, you mentioned that.
Actually, I did mention the soldier, but one thing I want to mention is we're talking about all this deep lore, these scary moments, all these things, these deep, profound things about being a soldier, about why has this happened to me, and this always happens to people, and they never feel ready for these quests, all this stuff. And then he goes, by the way, you should travel with an alias, Mr. Underhill. The most obvious name. Oh, a hobbit traveling? It's like saying my name is Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Underhill?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Gandalf.
Thought of that.
I mean, I never, I don't remember. It was 20 years ago. I don't think it really hit me then because I was like 13. But now I was in my 30s. I'm like, Mr. Underhill. What?
If you had to have a traveling name given to you, what would it be? If it's easier, we could name each other.
Let's do that.
If you don't think you can come up with your own.
All right, we'll
not
go.
sure
we'll
I
go,
could come up with either.
Okay, so we will go.
I'll let you guys
we'll
go
go
first.
right to left to give Laura time to think about what she's going to call RJ. But RJ, what would my traveling alias be?
Oh. Reginald Paul.
Yeah, I'm about it. My friends call me Reggie. I don't have many friends.
Reginald Paul.
You can pull it off.
Do you want me? Wait, what? Who's up next?
You are like Eric Broadstreet.
Yes.
Broad Street?
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Eric sucks. Fuck people with the name Eric.
Oh,
I
poor
hate
Eric's
that
out
name.
there.
It's a terrible,
Then you could be
terrible
Mr.
name.
Broadstreet
But Broad
himself.
Street is great.
Yeah, right?
I'll take that. Broad Street. So, Laura, your traveling name.
Oh, he's got something.
I don't know.
It's okay. We can cut it if it's bad. But Laura will remember forever.
Your traveling name is Mrs. Fluff Puff.
What?
Because you are fucking obsessed with pastries and baking things.
Okay. That's totally, yep, okay.
I just imagine her having like a Walmart brand like
feel like
puff
Mrs.
pastry
Weasley.
instead of Mrs. Buttersworth. She's like, I'm Mrs. Fluff.
That's some magic school bus ass shit.
Fluff Puff.
Alrighty, we're gonna
That
get
feels
name
very
tags.
Middle Earthy.
Mrs. Fluff Puff. Yeah, all right. There we go.
Does it?
With ham fast? Ham fast and
Mrs.
bagginses?
Fluff Puff would absolutely be a hobbit.
Yeah.
All right.
So now Judge RJ.
All right.
In front of God and everybody.
It will be
2 last names.
Regina Silverthorn.
I love that.
I don't know where it came from, but it's a little elfy.
Oh my God. It's so like fantasy as well. And
Yep.
sounds like a good like fantasy author's name.
There you
Done.
go. You're welcome.
I'm very happy.
I am so
I'm not.
mad. I don't have a single Mean Girls quote ready.
Oh, it happens. What would you name your husband?
Oh, you don't want to know.
I do want to know.
I want to know.
I might have to think about this for a little while. He's taking his ring off.
It's a magic ring.
What's so magic about it?
It makes me invisible to one woman.
Wow.
Wow, actually, that's a lot worse than I thought.
was a lot
it
darker
sounded a lot more fun in my head.
That's hysterical.
I love you.
All right, fine. Give me a name then.
Okay, so traveling name? Yeah, traveling name.
Yeah, traveling name.
And you want like a hobbity name? Because it's got to be
Oh.
hobbity.
it's got to be Hobbity.
It's gotta be
name.
Hobbity.
You'll
It's
have
gotta
to
be hobbity.
decide.
So Tolkien does this weird thing where in the Shire, men get names like Hamfast and Bilbo and Frodo and Fredger. And women get names like Marigold and Rosewater
Esmeralda.
and Esmeralda.
Very pretty.
So I definitely see you more in line with like a Rosewater, but like more down to earth than that. And I would say like, except that we know a Becca, I would say like Becca's there. Also like it gets you alliteration into baker,
Yeah.
to baking.
Rebecca.
Like Becca Heart Hearth.
Heart
cute.
Hearth. I like that.
So what's my name?
Well, it's not that clever.
I'm
I'm
a
having
clever boy.
second thoughts on whether or not I should say it out loud.
It's okay.
Please. God, say it out loud.
It's more of a nickname because there's no last name involved.
Okay. What is it?
Long-winded Mac.
Oh my God.
Oh, boy.
It's like an
Oh,
old
boy.
wise wizard.
Sure, yeah, very wise.
And
Yo, I'm in.
so I have to say, if I had
I'm
to
in.
name Chris,
My girl knows
yeah,
me.
you guys need to name each other.
he's obsessed with the song. For those of you who don't know, he's obsessed with a Lord of the Rings themed dwarf song, Diggy Diggy Hole. So his last name would be Diggins.
Diggins.
And I really want to be like literative here and do like Derek Diggins. Or Diddy Diggins.
Drogo Diggins.
Well, Drogo is too close to Drogon, and all these people drown.
Drogo drowning Diggins.
Oh, my God.
So you have to name me now.
I think for you. Wait, question. Is Winfrey a male or female name?
Winfrey?
Yeah.
It's Winifred.
Winifred.
Winifred?
female.
My grandmother's name.
It's
So-
also the name of the Hocus Pocus witch.
Rude.
So what comes to mind is Winnie Rita.
terrible.
yeah. No, you could do that in a heartbeat. It would be very witchy. You'd need a lot more eye makeup.
Yeah. But Rita, for like, you a book reader?
I'm thinking Power Rangers.
Yeah, I did too.
No. Rita. Okay, so something we skipped over. I definitely feel like we touched on Gandalf, maybe / not maybe, like torturing Gollum.
Right, yeah.
There's no maybe.
Well, he introduced him to fire. We don't know how closely.
Could have been Aragorn, too. Yeah.
It could have been. I don't think it was Aragorn.
Is that weird? I find that kind of hot.
Yes.
Aragorn's like lighting a fire, and I don't know.
Okay. All right. Well,
Meat's back on the menu tonight, boys.
yo, that's for you, Broad Street. So no, but one thing I want to touch on is actually it goes back to Aragorn. Jesus Christ, is that when they're tracking Gollum down, they're following his tracks, and like the wood elves in Mirkwood are originally Gandalf's like guys. He's like, just go fucking get this weird goblin that's in your woods, and they're like, easy peasy. And they track him down until he leaves the woods, and then they're like, fuck off, old man, not our problem. So that's when he finds Aragorn. And Aragorn tracks Gollum, and eventually Gandalf gets bored and passes on that opportunity. But Aragorn continues to track, and he tracks all through the Wilderlands, and he finds these rumors of a creature that climbs trees to steal eggs from nests, that goes down into burrows to steal the young, that goes in unlocked windows to rob cradles. That's Gollum.
I totally missed that part. I blacked it out in my
babies.
mind.
He's eating babies.
He's specifically described as a blood-sucking monster. My man ate babies. So you know what? Maybe a little more fire would have been okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
it didn't specifically name him. It said a ghost that does these things.
But
It's
also,
definitely Gollum.
And then at the end of the Scooby-Doo reveal, it's Gollum.
But also, that just even shows even more compassion that Gandalf has when he
Okay.
says that he should not be murdered.
No.
There is
Where are we
hope
going with
yet.
this?
There is hope yet. And Frodo's like,
Gandalf
kill
might be
him.
wrong.
And Gandalf's like, no. None of us are great enough that we should 100% decide if someone should live or die, which I really align with.
So my final note tonight is something that we didn't really talk about. This is where we meet the White Council. So Gandalf is a part of a council of other wizards. I'm assuming that each wizard is sort of given a territory or given an area to be sort of representative of. The way he talks about it is
like a congressman.
Yeah, kind of like he goes to the council. And he's like, "Oh, I'm representing here's my issues I have," and they all like discuss each other. Within this council is another wizard named Saruman, and
The White.
Saruman the White.
First off, there's the White Council. And that's sort of just like the wizard's order, of which Saruman is chief. He is Saruman the White, Saruman the Wise. He's the greatest wizard. He's Gandalf's boss. He knows the most about ring lore. Gandalf goes to him directly and is like, I think we have problems.
Saruman kind of told everybody what he thought about the rings, and it made
it off.
Gandalf feel better
Right.
that everything was okay. Saruman was lying.
Yes.
Saruman was not letting on all that he knew, is what I got out of this.
Yeah, because they say later that Bilbo's reaction, specifically at the end of the last chapter, played lie to all of Saruman's like platitudes, essentially. Like everything that Saruman said was fine. The clear evidence in Bilbo meant that like something was clearly wrong.
So that's interesting because I inferred it as Gandalf was going to come to his chief and say, I think I found the ring of power. But something inside him said to hold back, and he did. And so Saruman was only saying this stuff. So then he thought, oh, I didn't even find it. I'm wrong. And so then it was, he was like, I think I'm onto this. But on page 57, he says his great mistake about Gollum in the ring. And he says, I let him go. I had much else to think of at the time, and I still trusted the lore of Saruman. So they're right there. He never told Saruman that Gollum had the ring, Bilbo had the ring. To me, he kind of breached the subject, but didn't fully delve in my opinion. And I could be 100% wrong, and I probably
Well,
am.
who knows? I mean,
No, I
this is
think
why
you're
I
right.
wanted to bring it up. It's like, I think this is an interesting thing,
No,
right?
he says specifically, I could only watch and wait. I might perhaps have consulted Saruman the White, but something always held me back. So you're right. He didn't go directly to Saruman in it.
He didn't
just-
bring up he thinks he found it. He might have asked
And
questions
even
about
when
the
he
ring.
talked to him, he wasn't fully honest.
Correct.
So there were conversations, there were discussions, but it wasn't a fully transparent discussion.
No.
Right. At the council,
At the
Saruman was
council.
holding back, and Gandalf knew this.
And there were other people there.
Yes.
Yes.
So the difference between the wise as a category of people and the White Council is it's a little different.
Yeah.
The council refers to essentially wizards, which is something we'll get into later. You don't need to know that for now. But
Okay.
the wise includes essentially all the powerful and knowledgeable people of Middle-earth.
Right.
And so these are the people who debate ring lore and know things. And at these meetings is when Saruman the White, whose provenance is ring lore, would say things that really were like, no, this is it. He hinted that this was not the problem. This was not the One Ring. But then when Gandalf came back and saw how the ring had affected Bilbo, it's like 2 paragraphs down from that, he saw things in Bilbo that no promises from Saruman could allay.
So Saruman was downplaying whatever was going
Exactly.
on.
Yep,
And that's
yep.
and Gandalf mistrusted that.
My favorite quote from this chapter was purely a descriptive beauty of Tolkien when it's one of the last lines of the chapter when it's decided that Sam is going on the adventure. And he says, "You shall go away with Mr. Frodo." "Me, sir," cried Sam, springing up like a dog invited for a walk.
I didn't know that was a direct quote.
Yes!
That's so
How?
rude.
How beautiful is that? All I'm seeing is like a yellow lap.
That kind of is
He's
Sam.
like Mr. Peanut Butter.
No.
And with that, that's chapter 2. Do we have a treat today?
We sure do. So I have prepared today some smoked salmon as a hint.
Oh my gosh.
There's a lot of fish on this platter here. We've got some smoked salmon on top of chive cream cheese, some smoked salmon on top of smoked gouda. And for those of us who maybe don't like fish very much,
I'm a heathen.
some Swedish fish.
You don't like fish?
I don't like smoked salmon.
Interesting.
He likes regular salmon? I don't know.
I don't actually like regular salmon. I just say I do.
Oh my God.
Because she cooks it.
I cook it good. Anyway, why do you think I have prepared you this
I
lovely
already
fishy
know.
dish?
I'm going to let the newbies try.
Because she hates me.
Obviously.
Smeagol.
All right, so we've got 2 references to fish with Smeagol.
And the smoked.
Yeah.
He was gonna burn up when he was getting tortured by Gandalf and
Okay,
Aragorn.
that was not part of it, but I love
smoked
it.
salmon.
Introduced him to fire.
That smoked gouda.
RJ's been reading a lot of smut.
It's so true, though. I'm sorry.
She's looking for anything to connect it to fire.
We have
Well,
smoked gouda, smoked
we are.
salmon,
All right,
Ooh.
This looks amazing.
so I'm going to pass it around and try not to
saucy
spill it.
fish.
Some saucy fish.
Take your-
sign me up.
Your favorite. And just imagine Gollum eating raw fish out of his hands.
Oh, yes. I also had something else I wanted to see.
Is it related to raw fish?
Yeah, a little
Here
bit.
you go.
Take yours, Pat.
Oh, he's doing it. He's eating the fish.
That was a mistake.
Oh, he hates it.
Wait. I'm double fisting for those listeners
You
out
took
there.
too much
The
fish.
smoked salmon.
This isn't
Fit.
smut.
Oh my God.
It feels bad in my mouth.
It's delicious. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So Gandalf points out that Gollum sort of says his name a lot. And I wanted to go around and see / hear what everyone's take on the throaty Gollum sounds like.
Make the Gollum noise.
The
What's the Gollum noise that you
Well, like-
hear when you read that?
it's slightly spoiled from having seen the movies.
Yeah, but you're not Andy Serkis.
Correct.
So I think it'll be interesting no matter what. If you think you're Andy Serkis, I'm sorry, but you're not.
No.
Do you want to think about it? You want to go
Think
first?
about it, I guess. Go, RJ.
Gollum.
That was so bad.
But I feel like for me, he's choking on a fishbone.
What's Gollum horking?
It's like a cat. Wait, it's a cat with a hairball being like. He's like on his hands and knees.
Yep. I see it.
All the cat owners like, fuck! Get the paper towel, quick!
Jumping out of bed.
Patrick?
All right, we're getting the horking in on that one too.
I love it.
God, I like it. I like it.
No,
Wait.
for real, that comes from the audiobook version from like the
1990.
90s. Yes.
The red cover.
Yes.
Yes.
He says like Gollum, and
He's very aggressive, very abrasive.
upon his microphone.
He punches you in the face.
Gollum.
Wait, I love the face. That was amazing.
Yeah, you turned into a Gollum for a second.
Method acting.
So I think it's something like. I think it's like that. I don't
I'm
think
really
he's.
Wow.
scared.
I think he's saying it like a H, not a G. Like Hollum.
Gollum,
Like in Belgium.
Yeah.
Belgium.
Like he's going Gollum.
That's how they
And
say
everyone goes Gollum.
H is in Belgium.
Gollum.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have another one of these because they're fucking good.
You're weird.
And I'll have dessert. I'll have a Swedish fish.
I can't believe.
Oh, and the fish was also because they were fishing when they found the ring.
Nice.
Gollum got smoked.
damn girl. Honestly, we should all be
Shit.
eating cod.
Call of Duty.
No, cod. The fish.
Call of Duty.
Cod. Just
my
cod.
God.
Like actually the fish. And before everyone forgets where we are, we're gonna do the pop quiz. It's gonna be round robin until the last man standing. We are gonna name places in the Shire. Go.
Again.
Michael Delving. 3, 2.
Rapid fire.
Blackwater.
One.
Atwater.
I'll give it to you.
Hobbiton.
River Anduin.
Not in the Shire.
Oh, only in the Shire?
In the
That is
Shire.
whole-
All right. 3, 2,
Brandywine.
1. Okay. The Tookland.
You made that up.
Packwood.
You made that up.
That wasn't in the chapter. I'm out of places. I lose.
3, 2, 1. Good, because I'm also out. Thanks, everybody.
Anyway, that's it for chapter 2 of The Fellowship of the Ring. This is Full of a Took. Make sure you follow us online on our social media, Full of a Took podcast. Anyway, stay tuned. Next week, we're going to tackle chapter 3, which is called
3 is company.
Damn, I'll see myself out. I'm Patrick.
I'm Christopher.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Robbie Jean.
And I'm Christopher.
You are.
Still is.
My name's Broad Street.
It's Broad Street.